I'd never date a janitor, said the CEO, until the single dad reached a place no one ever could. Part 1. I'd never date a janitor. The words echoed through the luxurious conference room, followed by a few uncomfortable laughs. At the end of the long glass table stood Daniel Carter, a 38-year-old single father wearing a plain Navy work uniform. He had been hired by the company only 3 months earlier as part of the night cleaning staff. His shoes were worn, his hands were rough, and his face carried the quiet exhaustion of a man who had spent years putting someone else's needs before his own. Across from him sat Victoria Hayes, the 35-year-old billionaire CEO of Hayes International. She was one of the most powerful women in the city. Victoria had everything money could buy: a penthouse overlooking the skyline, luxury cars, expensive clothes, and a company worth billions. Yet there was one thing she had never managed to find: peace. That evening, she had called an emergency meeting after discovering that confidential documents had disappeared from her private executive office. The security team had searched the building, but no one had found anything. Daniel had been cleaning the hallway outside the conference room when he overheard the discussion. "I'm telling you," said the head of security, "no one entered your office after 8 o'clock. Victoria slammed a folder onto the table. "Then explain how these documents vanished." No one answered. Daniel lowered his eyes and continued pushing his cleaning cart. He knew better than to interfere. People like Victoria Hayes did not listen to people like him. But then he noticed something. A small piece of silver dust was caught on the edge of Victoria's expensive black shoe. Daniel stopped. "Excuse me, ma'am." The room went silent. Victoria looked at him. "Yes." Daniel pointed toward her shoe. "You stepped near the service elevator." Her eyebrows narrowed. "So, that dust on your shoe isn't from this floor." The security chief laughed. "Are you seriously investigating this now?" Daniel ignored him. He crouched down and carefully examined the dust. "Industrial metal powder," he said quietly. "Probably from the maintenance level." Victoria stared at him. "How would a janitor know that?" Daniel stood. "Because I used to work with machinery." That answer surprised everyone. Victoria leaned back in her chair. "And what exactly did you do before becoming a janitor?" Daniel hesitated. He didn't like talking about his past. "I repaired industrial equipment." The security chief scoffed. "Then why are you cleaning floors?" Daniel's expression changed. "For my daughter." The room became quiet. Daniel looked down at his hands. "Her mother left us when she was 4. My daughter has a heart condition, and her medical bills aren't cheap. So I took whatever work I could find." Victoria's face softened for just a second. But before she could say anything, Daniel turned toward the hallway. "There's something else." Victoria stood. "What?" Daniel looked directly at her. "The person who stole your documents didn't leave the building." Everyone froze. The security chief stepped forward. "How can you possibly know that?" Daniel pointed toward the floor. "Because whoever took them is still inside." Victoria stared at him. For the first time that night, she wasn't looking at Daniel as a janitor. She was looking at him as someone who might be the only person capable of solving the mystery. And neither of them knew that this moment would eventually change both their lives forever. "I'd never date a janitor," said the CEO, until the single dad reached a place no one ever could. Part 2. Victoria stared at Daniel. "The thief is still inside my building." Daniel nodded. The head of security immediately stepped forward. "That's impossible. We locked down every entrance." Daniel calmly pointed toward the service corridor. "Not every entrance." Everyone turned toward him. Daniel walked to the hallway and stopped beside a small metal door. "This door leads to the old maintenance tunnel. Most people don't know about it." Victoria frowned. "I've worked in this building for 12 years. There are no maintenance tunnels." "There are," Daniel replied. "They were sealed off years ago." The security chief crossed his arms. "And how exactly do you know that?" Daniel looked at him. "Because I was the one who discovered them." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "You?" Daniel nodded. "When I first started working here, I noticed the building's ventilation system was losing pressure. I investigated and found an old service passage behind the basement boiler room." The security chief shook his head. "Why wasn't this reported?" "It was." Daniel looked toward Victoria. "Your previous security director ignored it." Victoria's expression changed. Her previous security director had been fired 2 years earlier for financial misconduct. Daniel moved closer to the door. "There is another entrance to this tunnel." "Where?" Victoria asked. "Under the executive parking garage." The security chief immediately grabbed his radio. "Lock down the garage." Daniel raised a hand. "Too late." Everyone looked at him. "What do you mean?" Victoria asked. Daniel pointed toward the floor. Look at those footprints. Victoria looked down. There were faint muddy marks leading from the corridor toward the service elevator. Daniel followed them with his eyes. Someone came through here recently. The security chief finally stopped arguing. The group moved quickly toward the elevator. Victoria stayed beside Daniel. As the elevator descended, she glanced at him. You seem unusually calm. Daniel gave a small smile. Panic doesn't help. You're a janitor. Yes. And you know how to repair machinery, investigate security breaches, and track footprints. Daniel shrugged. I've had an interesting life. The elevator doors opened. The basement was dark. Daniel stepped forward. Victoria grabbed his arm. Wait. Daniel turned. What? She pointed toward the ground. A small black object lay near the wall. Daniel picked it up. It was a security access card. Victoria's face went pale. That belongs to one of my executives. Daniel looked at the card. Then we know who we're looking for. Suddenly, a loud metallic crash echoed from the tunnel. Everyone froze. The security team drew closer. Victoria whispered, "What was that?" Daniel stepped in front of her. "Stay here." Victoria grabbed his sleeve. "Absolutely not." Daniel looked at her. For the first time, Victoria saw something different in his eyes. Not fear, not hesitation, protection. Daniel slowly entered the dark tunnel. Victoria followed despite his warning. They moved deeper into the passage until they reached a locked steel door. Daniel examined the lock. Someone forced this open recently. Before anyone could respond, the lights suddenly went out. Victoria gasped. A shadow moved behind them. Daniel immediately grabbed Victoria and pulled her against the wall. Don't move. A figure ran through the darkness. Daniel chased after him. Victoria heard footsteps disappearing down the tunnel. Then silence. Minutes passed. Finally, Daniel returned. His shirt was torn, and there was blood on his forehead. Victoria rushed toward him. Are you hurt? Daniel shook his head. I'm fine. What happened? He got away. Victoria stared at him. Who was it? Daniel looked toward the darkness. I don't know. Then he handed her something. A small envelope. Victoria opened it. Inside was a photograph. Her heart stopped. The picture showed Victoria standing beside her younger brother, who had died 5 years earlier. On the back, someone had written, "You should have listened to him." Victoria's hands began to shake. Daniel looked at her. Who is your brother? Victoria swallowed hard. His name was Michael. Daniel stared at the photograph. Then this isn't about stolen documents. Victoria looked up. What do you mean? Daniel's voice became serious. Someone is trying to uncover something about your family. Victoria's face went pale, and for the first time in years, the billionaire CEO realized that the one person she had never considered important might be the only person standing between her and a dangerous secret. The janitor had become her protector. But neither of them knew that the real danger had only just begun. I'd never date a janitor, said the CEO, until the single dad reached a place no one ever could. Part 3. Victoria couldn't stop staring at the photograph. Her brother Michael had been dead for 5 years. A car accident. At least, that was what everyone had told her. She remembered the night clearly. Michael had been driving home when his car suddenly lost control on a rainy road. The police investigation concluded it was an accident, and Victoria had never questioned it. Until now. Where did you get this? She asked Daniel. Daniel looked toward the dark tunnel. The man who ran away dropped it. Victoria tightened her grip on the photograph. Why would someone have a picture of my brother? I don't know. You have to know something. Daniel shook his head. I don't. Victoria looked at him suspiciously. You expect me to believe that? Daniel's expression hardened. Believe whatever you want. I'm only trying to keep you safe. Those words silenced her. For years, Victoria had surrounded herself with powerful executives, lawyers, security guards, and wealthy friends. Yet none of them had noticed the danger approaching her. Daniel had. The janitor. The man she had dismissed only hours earlier. Suddenly, Daniel's phone began ringing. He looked at the screen. His expression changed instantly. Victoria noticed. Who is it? My daughter. Daniel answered. Emily. A small voice came through the phone. Dad. Daniel's face softened. Hey, sweetheart, what's wrong? There's someone outside. Daniel froze. Victoria immediately noticed the change. What someone? Daniel's voice became serious. Emily, listen to me. Lock the front door. I already did. Good. Don't open it for anyone. Dad, I'm scared. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. It's okay. I'm coming home. He ended the call. Victoria stared at him. Your daughter is alone? Yes. We need to get to her. Daniel nodded. They rushed out of the building. Victoria ordered her driver to bring the car around, but Daniel stopped her. No, she turned. What? Your driver could be involved. Victoria's eyes widened. You think someone inside my company is helping them? Daniel looked at her. I think we don't know who we can trust. They took Daniel's old pickup truck instead. During the drive, Victoria remained silent. Finally, she asked, why are you doing this? Daniel kept his eyes on the road. Doing what? Helping me. Daniel smiled faintly. Because someone has to. You barely know me. That's true. Then why? Daniel glanced at her. Because I know what it's like to lose someone. Victoria looked away. For the first time, she noticed the exhaustion behind his eyes. Daniel wasn't just a janitor. He was a father who had sacrificed everything for his daughter. When they arrived at his small house, the front door was locked. Daniel rushed inside. Emily, a little girl, stepped out from behind the sofa. Dad. Daniel dropped to his knees and hugged her tightly. Victoria stood in the doorway. Emily looked at her. Who is she? Daniel glanced at Victoria. She's my boss. Emily studied Victoria carefully. Then she whispered, the lady who doesn't like you. Victoria's eyes widened. Daniel looked embarrassed. Emily. The little girl shrugged. You told me she said janitors weren't important. Victoria's face flushed. Daniel looked down. I didn't mean for you to hear that. Victoria slowly walked toward them. I did say it. Daniel looked at her. Victoria knelt beside Emily. I was wrong. Emily smiled. Are you going to fire my dad? Victoria shook her head. No. She looked at Daniel. I think I'm going to promote him. Daniel stared at her. Victoria stood. Starting tomorrow, Daniel Carter will no longer be a janitor. Daniel's eyes widened. What? Victoria smiled. I need someone I can trust. Daniel shook his head. I'm not interested in money. I know. Then what do you want? Victoria looked into his eyes. For the first time, she didn't see a janitor. She saw a man who had protected her when everyone else had failed. I want the truth, she whispered. Daniel nodded. Then we'll find it. Neither of them realized that their search would uncover a secret powerful enough to destroy Victoria's company. And as the two of them stood together in the quiet living room, something else had already begun to change. Victoria had spent her entire life believing that people were defined by their wealth, position, and appearance. But Daniel had reached a place no one else ever could. Not her office, not her bank account, not her company, her heart, and that frightened her more than any enemy ever had.